Okay, so over on UK TV, over on ITV, which is a big channel over in the UK, Piers Morgan was on Good Morning Britain. Again, Piers Morgan is a big critic of Meghan Markle. He has been for quite a while. He was kind of friendly with Meghan Markle for a while, apparently. And then she apparently ghosted him after she got involved with Prince Harry. And she was kind of nasty to him. And this is, according to Piers. And then he didn't like the way that she was treating the royal family. Apparently, she was trying to throw her weight around inside the royal family. She didn't respect a lot of the traditions. And so Morgan's been a longtime critic of Meghan Markle. Now, full disclosure, I'm friendly with Piers now. Right? I mean, that is the hilarious of the hilarity of our current political moment is that anyone who doesn't buy into every narrative of the woke is now on one side and the woke are on the other. That is the way this works. So anyway, Piers Morgan was very critical of Meghan Markle on the show. He said, I don't believe a word that comes out of her mouth, right? The direct quote from Piers Morgan is he said that I wouldn't believe it if she read me a weather report. He was talking about her report that not only was she suicidal, but that she went to members of the palace and that they basically dismissed her complaints about being suicidal. He said, who did you go to? What did they say to you? I'm sorry, I don't believe a word she said, Meghan Markle. I wouldn't believe it if she read me a weather report. Okay, now this resulted in a massive outpouring of criticism because how dare Piers Morgan say that in his opinion, he doesn't believe Meghan Markle. You must believe, right? As Don Lemon says, she fits all the categories. So you must believe. You don't even have to check the story. You don't have to find out the other side. Okay, so this resulted yesterday in Piers Morgan on Good Morning Britain getting into a spat with this guy who is apparently like the weather guy on Good Morning Britain on ITV. Right, who basically said that Morgan's take on the situation was disgusting, and Piers got mad and walked off the show.
I understand that you've got a personal relationship with Meghan Markle or had one, and she cut you off. She's entitled to cut you off if she wants to. Has she said anything about you since she cut you off? I don't think she has, but yet you continue to trash her.
OK, I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry, no. Sorry.
Do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can trash me, maybe not my own.
No.
See you later.
I'm being...
Sorry, can't do this.
This is absolutely diabolical behavior.
Diabolical. First of all, gotta love the Brits. So he goes after Morgan. Morgan walks off the show. And now Morgan's out of a job. Now, the reason that Morgan is out of a job is not because he walked off the show. The reason that Morgan is out of a job is because the government started to investigate ITV. And you know who's a person who put in a complaint to ITV? Our great victim, the victim of the hour, Meghan Markle. Because nothing says victimhood quite like trying to exercise institutional power in order to get somebody fired. That is definitely a good thing to do. Apparently, according to the Hollywood Reporter, Meghan Markle filed an ITV complaint against Piers Morgan, which is not babyish behavior at all. Somebody criticizes you on TV, so you file a complaint with their bosses. I'm sorry. That's childish behavior. Under any circumstances, that is I've received more than my share of criticism over the course of my career. I'm a public figure. That's the way that it works. I cannot remember filing a complaint with somebody's boss asking to have them disciplined for something they said about me. In fact, I have a number of fairly good friends whose friendships were initiated by them writing something crappy about me in a fairly prominent place and me reaching out and saying I appreciated them listening to the stuff even though I think they got it wrong. Okay, but not Meghan Markle, apparently. According to the Hollywood Reporter, neither ITV nor Archewell have denied that a complaint was lodged on behalf of the Duchess. Meghan Markle made a formal complaint to ITV following Piers Morgan's incendiary comments about the Duchess, the UK broadsheet newspapers have reported. Both The Guardian and The Telegraph claim a complaint was lodged on behalf of the royal after Monday's episode of Good Morning Britain, in which Morgan repeatedly lashed out at Prince Harry and Markle over their revelations in the explosive interview with Oprah Winfrey. The growing furor over the former CNN host's tirade, one that also saw him storm off set after being rebuked on air by a colleague, would ultimately lead to him quitting the breakfast news show, with ITV making the announcement he was standing down on Tuesday evening. Among Morgan's most controversial comments was that he didn't believe Markle's claims she had felt suicidal and had reached out for support from Buckingham Palace, only for it to be rejected. Okay, so he didn't actually say, I don't believe that she felt suicidal, right? He didn't actually say that. If you go back and you watch the comments, what he said is, I don't believe a word she says, which is a pretty blanket statement. And what he specifically cited was he didn't believe that she had gone to the palace and the palace had been like, yeah, you're suicidal. Well, if something bad happens, that's kind of on you. It's going to look bad for the family if we bring in a psychiatrist. Like, they have their own medical team inside Buckingham Palace. Okay, the comments drew widespread condemnation, including from a mental health charity, and led to more than 41,000 complaints to regulator Ofcom. Okay, and this is where this becomes relevant for Americans. Okay, because we are now living in a world in the United States where many, many people in America want an American version of Ofcom. So what exactly is Ofcom? So Ofcom is a regulatory agency who sees its job as to regulate the way that media is done. Okay, Ofcom is again a government agency that is designed to regulate what people can and cannot say. In December of 2020, the regulator launched a review of what protections were in place with regard to mental health and well-beings of individuals who take part in their show. The Commons Digital, Culture, Media, and Sports Select Committee has launched inquiries into the reality TV industry, for example. Ofcom creates measures aimed at protecting vulnerable people and others not used to being in the public eye. Ofcom has its own director of standards and audience protection. Okay, and so Ofcom, which is this British agency which regulates, it's sort of like the FCC, except it has an enormous power over actual broadcast in a way that the FCC really does not. Ofcom is the Office of Communications. It's the government-approved regulatory and competition authority for broadcasting telecommunications. And again, they have wide ability to punish people for saying things they don't like. So apparently, there was an official investigation by Ofcom, by the UK media regulator, based on Piers Morgan saying he didn't believe Meghan Markle, which is nuts. Okay, that's an opinion by Piers Morgan. How do you get investigated for an opinion? I'm confused. See, here in America, we have this thing called freedom of speech and the First Amendment. It's pretty great. In Britain, they don't have the same thing. European standards of speech are very different. This is why they have hate speech regulations. They seek to measure harm of speech against value of speech, which, of course, is a completely subjective decision. There's no limiting principle to it. And so Ofcom does this on a regular basis. According to Variety, Ofcom launched an investigation after more than 41,000 people wrote in to complain about ITV's Good Morning Britain host Piers Morgan's comments on Meghan Markle. So first of all, who gives a crap, right? In the United States, if a bunch of people wrote in to the FCC about me having an opinion about Meghan Markle, you know what the result will be? Nothing. Because we have a First Amendment in this country, thank God. They don't have the same thing in Britain. On Monday's edition of the show, of course, Morgan made his comments. And so now Ofcom was apparently investigating. An Ofcom spokesperson told Variety, we have, quote, launched an investigation into Monday's episode under Good Morning Britain under our harm and offense rules. Harm and offense rules. Okay, like the fact that you have harm and offense rules in a supposedly free country means that your country is not nearly as free as you are pretending that it is. Now, Morgan did come back on the air on Tuesday before the walk-off, and he said, when we talked about this yesterday, I said, as an all-encompassing thing, I don't believe what Meghan Markle is saying generally in this interview, and I still have serious concerns about the veracity of a lot of what she said. But let me just state for the record on my position on mental illness and on suicide. These are clearly extremely serious things and should be taken extremely seriously, and if someone is feeling that way, they should get the treatment and help they need every time. And if they belong to an institution like the royal family and they go and seek that help, they should absolutely be given it. It's not for me to question if she felt suicidal. I'm not in her mind, and that is for her to say. My real concern was a disbelief that she went to a senior member of the royal household and told them she was suicidal and was told she couldn't have any help because it would be a bad look for the family. If that's true, first, that person should be fired, and second, the royal family have serious questions that need to be answered. But that apparently didn't fix the problem. Right? Morgan still had to go because Morgan had offended the woke princess. And the woke princess, the powerless, victimized woke princess, and her fans got him fired and got an investigation going from the Office of Communications in the UK. Okay, it's usually pretty easy to tell who is a victim and who is the victimizer in a situation like this. The way that you can tell is who is the person who is threatening to actually do something to another person. That's how you can tell who the actual victim is here. And Meghan Markle was not threatened by Piers Morgan in any way. He had an opinion. His opinion said that he didn't believe a lot of what Meghan Markle had to say. And I frankly agree with a lot of that. I don't agree with a lot of, I don't believe some of what Meghan Markle had to say either. I find it largely self-serving. But the fact is that in our culture, if you claim victimhood, this apparently gives you ultimate power to actually harm other people. See, here's the thing. We now live in a society where if Piers Morgan says something that offends Meghan Markle, that is considered harm. If Meghan Markle files a complaint with ITV with the intent of getting Piers Morgan fired, that is not an actual harm. So one loses their job. The other has their feelings a little bit hurt. And one is considered a very, very serious harm. Now, how do we determine what the harm is? We simply look to intersectionality. We determine who's more woke. If you're woke, you're a victim. Even if you're the victimizer, you're the victim. That's the way this works now. The woke are the actual royalty. The woke are the actual American and apparently British royalty. Because now you have to be treated the way that royalty ought to be treated. No one can say a word against you. And if a word is said against you, you will be investigated. Maybe you will be fired. Piers Morgan did put out a statement. He on Twitter, he said, on Monday, I said I didn't believe Meghan Markle in her Oprah interview. I've had time to reflect on this opinion, and I still don't. If you did, okay. Freedom of speech is a hill I'm happy to die on. Thanks for all of the love and the hate. I'm off to spend more time with my opinions. And then he quoted Winston Churchill, some people's idea of free speech is that they are free to say what they like, but if anyone says anything back, that is an outrage. He later doubled down. He said, I don't believe anything that comes out of her mouth. I think the damage she's done to the British monarchy and to the Queen at a time when Prince Philip is lying in the hospital is enormous and frankly contemptible. If I have to fall on my sword for expressing an honestly held opinion about Meghan Markle and that diatribe of bilge that she came out with in that interview, so be it. I think it's fair to say, although the woke crowd will think they've canceled me, I think they'll be rather disappointed when I reemerge. Okay, so the woke being the actual Western royalty at this point. And you can't say a word against the woke because if you disagree with the woke, this proves that you are unwoke and therefore unfit for public consumption. Piers Morgan losing his job over saying that he disagrees with Meghan Markle and doesn't believe her, that is not an actual harm. Piers Morgan having said he doesn't believe her is the actual harm because, of course, she is not just a princess, she's a woke princess. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you stay up to date on all of our future content.